after the game and then again today, the defense was really put in some tough situations, but you did end up letting, Pitt score some touchdowns. How did you feel like the defense played overall?
Those sudden change situations, you need to pride yourself on, listen, however it happens, we're in a tough situation there in those scenarios, but, our job is to make sure we limit points. So, that didn't happen in those situations. However it was, whether it was fourth down or turnovers. I mean, playing on a good team, you need to pick each other up one way or the other. And that didn't happen enough Saturday night for us to have a chance to win the game.
Coach Norvell pointed out, Adam, I guess you only had 3 cornerbacks, which is suboptimal. Marvin was out. Did you have enough time, like in the week leading up to get certain guys the reps they needed, or were those sort of developments that kind of happened later on the week that you didn't see maybe coming?
Yeah, I mean, we were thin in the secondary, with Ray and BG starting at safety and then Sidney getting put in there. So, by those names that we were missing some guys. And then at DB at corner too. So it's a little bit thin in warm-ups there. Some things happen during the week that you don't always control. But, the guys that are out there, they battled. I'm proud of that DB room. We played a lot of different people for various different reasons this year. But it wasn't optimal because there were at time that we had all 3 of those corners on the field at the same time. So that happened a decent amount. And then to see him go, I mean, you talk about the last punt of the game and have Asante Samuel go to Coach JP and say, I want to cover this punt. I don't think we've been covering him well enough. That goes to show you what he's made of. And, we had more of those than not. We want that type of mentality to translate into wins. But, you can't always judge it about that. But, to see that happen at the end of the game with Asante and, and even with all 3 of those corners battling for as long as they did during the game, I was proud of them.
Hey, Coach. Number one, did Kenny Pickett be in the game change up what you guys had planned to do on defense? And the number 2, since we don't get you later in the week, your initial impressions of what you've seen so far of NC State.
Yeah, I mean, we had a feeling that we would see Pickett just because of the amount of time that he was out. So I wouldn't say we were surprised to see him. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the country from an accuracy standpoint, and that showed up to be true. We allowed him to be a little bit more mobile in that one scramble on the empty down the red zone. But yeah, I mean, we had a plan that he was going to be playing. The offense didn't change much. Obviously, the completion percentage and the efficiency at the quarterback position with Pickett in there was definitely operating on that season at a higher level. And we let him execute at those numbers probably more than we wanted to. But yeah, Pat, to answer your question, we were planning on seeing him, not based on any inside information, just with the time that he was out. And then the NC State, we're into it now. They, again, had a quarterback situation. They played 2 of them, but now they're back to the Hockman. I think they've got some real physical receivers on the perimeter. I think they have one of the better pass-catching tight ends, out there. I coached against him a number of years ago when I was at another school in Angeline. And they have 2 really physical backs. And I think up front, that's 4 returning starters who've played well together. And I think they're coming off one of their better performances against a good Miami team last week. So I think they've got a good group of a collection of wideouts. And I think the quarterback, has played well, especially with a little bit of the changing going on during the year. But yeah, we're in the middle of it right now, going through it. But 2 very physical backs, very capable, good, big, strong wide receiver core. And they play with 3 different tight ends, but one of them does a great job of the perimeter, just making one-on-one plays. And the other 2, especially 42, is an extremely physical player at the point of attack. I think offensive line-wise, a group that has played together and a physical group at the point.
Hey Adam, I wanted to get your thoughts on Amari Gainer's playing
Right.
time and usage. It seemed like he was productive, but I think he was only in for about like a third or so of the snaps. Was that based on what I guess Pitt was doing with personnel matching up, or is that kind of the sweet spot for Amari's usage in this past week?
Yeah, in the bye week, we spent a lot of time trying to get Amari some box reps, and that first series, I think we gave him he was going to go in, and then they tempoed us on that third down, so that didn't allow us really to substitute him. And then they tempoed it down there. We got him stopped to a 3 and out, and then the second series we went back to some base. We went back to his normal position, and I think it was fourth series we got him in at that box position. Ball kind of spit out on us. And I told him right when it happened, I said, listen, I got more confidence in you than you could ever imagine right now. And whether it's success or failure, when you're breaking guys in at different spots, especially with him, his effort to learn spots has been great. And we just got to keep putting him in those situations more, so that his rep count is one of the higher ones, not one of the lower ones.
When you guys late in the game, again, I know it's a lopsided loss, so there's not a lot of moral victories, but you guys did have another stand there late. Are you seeing that continued buy-in, and is it carrying over from week to week, even as the losses mount?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not ideal. Listen, we all get better when you feel good about the way things are going, right? When you show up to work and things are going well, it's easier when you have a smile on your face. But like even today, to see, I've had 6 defensive guys up in my office just sitting in the chair and, just talking about what they think they need to improve on, how they're going to go about it. And I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, talk is cheap. I mean, I see their willingness to want to get better. And, so we want results. We want win-loss results. But there's a certain way that you need to know how it's going to look to get there. And I'm seeing that. I mean, I have a lot of faith and trust in these players, from a standpoint of who they are and who they're trying to become, collectively and individually. Is it all of them? No. But it's the majority of them. And it's our job as coaches to continue to try and find a way to make sure that that's showing up on the field so they can get the results they want, because that's going to make them feel better. And it's going to make them prideful of where they're at right now. And right now we're fighting to get that.
Hey, Coach, it looked like Jaden Lars-Woodby was lining up at will linebacker, some kind of hybrid position, closer to the line of scrimmage against Pitt. Have y'all moved him up to will, or is he splitting time at both secondary and linebacker?
Yeah, well, we had this plan, and then, next thing you know, we were looking at, it was Ray, BG, and Sydney were the healthy safeties. So we were trying to get Jaden in a role like that. Again, just trying to find ways to use these guys at what they do really well. So you were correct. Jaden played linebacker last week. I don't have the rep count in front of me, but whether it was Will, whether it was Stud, he got reps at both those positions last week.
This is your first season coaching Asante. What's impressed you about him as a player, the way he prepares, and what do you think's had some of the keys to him having so much success individually?
The thing that's jumped out to me, not about his skill, but just his response when you tell him it's not good enough. And I know that seems pretty simple, but whether it was early in workouts, whether it was early in practices, whether it was results from some games this year or series, when you say, Asante, this was not good enough and this is why, that's it. And then tomorrow it gets fixed. And he's very intentional about doing that. And, that's not easy to do. When you tell players, especially players that have had some success individually, and you say, listen, that's not the standard for you, not to mention not the standard for us. And, it's one thing to hear it. It's another thing to listen to it, but it's another thing to take actions to address it and to move forward with it. So I think that's part of the reason why he's got the respect of all of his teammates here, and for sure the respect of me.
Hey, Coach, looks like y'all have changed up the depth chart a little bit in the interior of the defensive line with Cooper going back to starter and then Briggs named as a co-starter with Fabian. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about what stood out about Dennis and Robert against Pitt?
Well, Coop's playing with a little bit more consistency now. He got banged up there a couple weeks ago, which happens inside. Missed him there for a week, and then it took him another week to kind of get back to using his hands the way he wants to use them. So I have seen better consistency with him. Dennis, listen, he's been back with us about 4.5 weeks now. We always knew that he had the skill to be a defensive tackle and play 3 technique in our defense. It's still a work in progress with him, but his flexibility and his athleticism, his length, and his, he's a good teammate, and he works at it, and it's important to him. And then Fabian, again, he's missed some time, but we got him back for a week of preparation, and he was a week better than, coming off that Louisville game. So, we think those 3 guys have made some strides for sure.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.